friends, and welcome to Miss Debbie's STEM lesson. I hope you are all able to get outside and enjoy some of this really nice weather that we've been having. Miss Debbie misses you, and I'm excited about our lesson today. But before we get started with our lesson, let's say our hello song. Hello, hello. Can you clap your hands? Hello, hello. Can you clap your hands? Can you reach up high? Can you touch your toes? Can you turn around? Can you say hello, 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 hello? Can you stomp your feet? Hello, hello. Can you stomp your feet? Can you reach up high? Can you touch your toes? Can you turn around? Can you say hello? Hello, everybody, and welcome to STEM class. Today, we are going to be playing a fun game called Sink and Float. Now, if you've never played this type of game before, what we are going to need is water, and then we are going to need some items from outside or inside that we can test to see if they sink or float. So you can decide with your parents or your grandparents or whoever you're working with whether you want to work outside on the grass or on a deck, or if you want to work inside. If you work outside, you just need something that's filled with water that won't break. I don't want any glass breaking or anybody getting hurt. And something that's not too big and too deep so that someone falls in and gets hurt. So you really should be supervised by an adult when you're doing this activity. So outside can be a sand bucket or a bin of water or maybe even a little tiny kiddie pool. Anything that can hold some water. Inside you can use the kitchen sink, you can maybe even use the tub, or you can use a bucket inside as well. Anything that can hold some water that won't break. And a towel inside might be helpful as well, just to put it out underneath whatever you're working with. So, now that we've decided whether we're going to work inside or outside, now might be a good time to pause your video and go on a scavenger hunt and find some things that you can use to sink or float. Now, don't grab something without permission, so make sure what you're using is okay with your mom or dad or whomever you're with before you plop it in water. Some ideas Miss Debbie has are a marble, a plastic spoon, a silver spoon, I have a bottle cap here, rock, crayon, rubber band, an orange, a pipe cleaner. I also have a toothpick. I have some toys here. What else? Oh, a piece of rolled up tin foil. Another little toy. A die. And I think, oh, and a bouncy ball. I have a bouncy ball too. But you can use anything. Just make sure you have a variety of things. Some things that are heavy and some things that are light. And again, like I said, make sure you have permission to put it in water before we do so. Okay, so I'll give you a chance to pause the video and you can go on your scavenger hunt and gather some items. Bye. Okay, well, I hope you had fun finding some things for our game. Before we get started, what you might want to do is either use a paper plate or regular plate, or just have a special section of your table for things that float. That means things that stay on top of the water. And then another section of your table or another plate to hold things that sink. That means they fall under the water. For instance, I'm going to try my ball. I'm going to think, will this float or sink? Let's see. Float. It stays on top of the water. Now, something that might sink, let's see. I'm going to check out this rock. See this rock here? Let's see what happens. the rock sank to the bottom. I'm not sure if you're able to see this well. I might reposition the camera so that you can see things. But just so you get the idea before you get started of what float means, that means staying on the top, and sink means going down to the bottom. Okay, Miss Debbie is going to try a few items to see if they sink or float. Before I do that, before I put something in the water, I want to make sure I ask myself if I think it's going to sink or float. That's called making a prediction or a guess. So I am going to guess that this plastic spoon is going to sink. Now, when we put our items in the water, I want you to gently place them on top of the water. You don't have to throw them in. Just gently place them on top of the water. And it floats. Miss Debbie thought it was going to sink. So my plastic spoon floats. So I'm going to put that in my float pile. Now I'm going to try another spoon. This is another spoon. It's not plastic, it's metal, but it's the same size and the same shape as the plastic spoon. So I'm going to say that it floats just like my plastic spoon. I'm going to gently put it on top. It sunk. Well, that's funny because it's the same size as the other spoon, but this spoon sunk in the water. I'm going to put it on my side that holds the things that sunk. Now I'm going to try a marble. Got a little marble here. And I'm going to guess whether or not I think it's going to sink or float. I'm going to say it's going to sink. It sank. That's right. My little marble sank. So I'm going to reach in, grab my marble, and I'm going to put it with my spoon here. Now I have something that's the same size, but it's a little bit lighter. It's a pom-pom. And since it's the same size as the little marble that sunk, I'm going to guess that this pom-pom is going to sink. Here we go. Well, look at that. My pom-pom floats. So I am going to pick this up and put it on the side that floats. Now, when I look at and compare the things that I've tested so far, the two things that sank are a little bit heavier than the two things that were floating. Here they are. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that is the same. They're the same shape. These two spoons are the same shape, but one sank and one didn't. And these two balls or circles are the same shape, but one sank and one didn't. Okay, so we've tested a few things together. We tested the spoons, and we tested the marble in the pom-pom. And we have found that the things that sank were a little bit heavier. So does that mean that everything that's heavy will sink? Let's see. What about a big boat or a ship in the water? That's big and heavy. Does it sink? Do you see a lot of boats in the water sinking underneath the water? No. So I don't think it means that something that's heavier will sink. Whether or not something sinks or floats has to do with something called density. Can you say density? Density. Now, density means how many molecules are in something that floats or something that sinks. Molecules are everywhere. I think we talked about molecules when we did our lesson on sound. Molecules are in the air and they carry sound to your ears. Molecules are everywhere. They're not dangerous, but they're invisible to us. The only way that we could see them is if we're a scientist and we're looking at them under a microscope. A microscope is like a magnifying glass, which allows you to see things that you can't see with your eyes. So molecules are everywhere. They're in Miss Debbie. They're in you. They're in Miss Debbie's dog, Roxy. They're in your toys, in the table, and they're also in water. Now, molecules look like tiny little balls when we look at them through the microscope. But this is an idea. This gives you an idea of what they look like. Now, something that sinks and falls to the bottom of the bowl has lots of molecules that are very tight together. They're all touching each other. And that means that it is dense. And something that is dense is going to sink. Now, something that has a lot of loose molecules in it that are floating around with lots of space in between and space that air can travel through. This means that this item is going to float. That means it's less dense. And when it floats, that means it's less dense than the water. So I want you to pause the video now and you can try some of the things that you gathered to see if they sink, or if they're dense, or if they float, less dense. So have fun with that, and I'll see you in just a minute. Well, welcome back. I hope you had fun, and I can't wait to find out how many things you found that sank in your water and how many things you found that were floating in your water. I hope you had lots of fun with that, and I can't wait to hear the next experiment that we have. We're going to need water for as well. And what we're also going to need before we get started is a bowl of any kind. Miss Debbie has a smaller bowl here. You can use a bigger bowl, plastic bowl, paper bowl, anything that you have. We're just going to use this as a mold. We're going to make a tinfoil boat. And our challenge is we're going to see if we can sink that boat in our water. So, Miss Debbie started hers already here, but what you're going to need is a bowl, tinfoil, and something to sink your boat. Normally people try this experiment with pennies or coins, or you can use marbles. I didn't have a lot of either of those things, but I do have some pasta, and I think that might do the trick. So what you're going to do is you're going to tear off a piece of tinfoil, pretty good size. You're going to put your bowl on top of your tinfoil, right in the middle, and then you're basically going to hug the bowl with the tinfoil, making sure it's flat up against your bowl, and pushing it down in the middle, just like so. Okay? Once you've done that, then you're gently going to take it apart and slide your bowl out of the middle. And now you have a little mold that you've made from your bowl. You're just going to follow the lines and push the tinfoil back down all around until you've made a little tinfoil boat. Okay, once you've made your tinfoil boat, you're going to predict or guess if you think your boat is going to float or sink on the water. Let's see. I think mine's going to float. Do you think it's going to float? It's nice and light. Let's see. It floats. Okay, now comes the challenge. Miss Debbie has some elbows here. And there might be too many to count because the elbows are a lot lighter. Whoopsie, a lot lighter than coins or marbles. So Miss Debbie is going to guess how many handfuls it's going to take to sink my boat. I'm going to guess that it's going to take 5 handfuls. 5 handfuls of elbow macaroni to sink my boat. So let's see. 1, 2, 2, 3, going a little bit lower, 4, it's close, 5, no, it's still floating, 6, 7, oh, it's getting lower, 8, I wonder if I'll have enough macaroni to sink my tinfoil boat, 9, 10, I only have a few left. Let's say 10 and a half. 10 and a half. Miss Debbie was not able to complete the challenge. I could not sink my boat, and I used 10 and a half handfuls of elbow macaroni. So I can't wait for you to try to sink your boat. You can use anything you'd like with permission. And please let Miss Debbie know how many it took for you to sink your tinfoil boat. Before we leave, Miss Debbie wanted to share a fun book with you. It's something that you could listen to online, and it is called Who Sank the Boat? It's a really fun book about some animals that are taking turns floating in a boat. It's by Pamela Allen. So I hope you had fun today, and I miss you so much. I hope you have a great week, and until we see each other again, stay happy and healthy. Let's end our group with a goodbye song. It's time to wave our hands and say goodbye. Goodbye. It's time to wave our hands and say goodbye. Goodbye. We've had lots of fun, my friends, and we'll do it all again. It's time to wave our hands and say goodbye. Goodbye, friends. Stay happy and healthy, and I'll see you next week. Bye.